This is Lauren Burke from LJS Advisory. I'm here with John Lipuma and Mark Dunn, the CEO and COO of Post Ads Group, also Prodigy. I have been working with John and Mark for the last about 6 months or so as fractional CMO, really getting to know their business well and the service and really the value that they bring to enterprise marketers. I'm really proud to be working so closely with this team because their solution really solves a lot of marketing pain points. And we've been doing some great work lately. And most recently, we launched Prodigy Plus, and Max, which is our agentic AI chatbot tool within the Prodigy platform. So there's so much excitement happening with Team Prodigy. And we thought it was a great time to kind of introduce them to a wider audience and let them tell their really unique and powerful story. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to our co-founders, John and Mark, who have really grown this into such an amazing business with some really big name clients. So John, why don't we start with you? Why don't you just give our audience a little intro into who you are, your professional background, and your journey to founding Post Ads Group, and then Mark, will let you chime in as well.
Great. Well, thanks, Lauren. It's been great working with you as well. Basically, my background is in advertising, and I've been working with ad tech companies for almost 30 years. And over the course of those 30 years, Mark and I had the great opportunity to work with each other at 3 of those different companies, believe it or not. At one point, Mark was my boss. At other times, I was his boss, and just kind of developed a great working relationship. And then the last company we were with in 2006 got acquired by a company we had been working with previously. So Mark and I kind of had a big decision to make. Do we want to go back to a company we had been working with? Or, at that point, we felt like we had a lot to offer marketers. I should say, in the ad tech world, we were always working with marketers directly on technology solutions. And so we had built up a pretty good, Rolodex and relationships. And we basically kind of stepped out and said, we feel there's a need for clients to have a subject matter expert in things like production, post-production, creation of content. So that's where we started Post Ads Group in 2007. And we did basically that. We, worked directly with marketers, kind of serving as their subject matter expert, looking at everything from cost, process, and technology. Those are kind of the big 3 that we would help clients kind of navigate. And then, we did that for many years up until 2020, where Mark, and I'll hand it off to Mark here, he's really the brainchild behind Prodigy. A lot of what we had done with marketers was working, reviewing, bids and data and that sort of thing. And what we found was that data was becoming increasingly, more important than kind of just working from project to project. They really wanted big picture information. So Mark came up with the idea of Prodigy to really automate what we had been doing manually. And kind of the way we work is that I'm more of the account management sales guy. Mark's more of the tech operations and finance guy. He's kind of a 5-tool player in that way. He a lot of skill sets in one person. So Mark, why don't you take it from where Prodigy started in 2020?
It's funny. I was going to go back to 2007 real quick because it's kind of a fun story that we haven't told in a while. When Prodigy or Post Ads Group originally back in 2007 was born, it's really born in Los Angeles. You remember that, John?
Yes. That's right.
Born in Los Angeles at like midnight at a ping pong table.
Yeah.
And was have you ever heard of the Chateau Marmont, Lauren?
I have.
Chateau Marmont.
Yeah,
So they had this ping pong table set up, and John and I were just kind of, riffing on the future, playing ping pong at midnight at the Chateau.
Yeah. And we were deciding, do we go with this new company? We had offers
exactly.
Or we do something different. And quite literally, we were knocking ideas back and forth. We
were knocking ideas. Yeah.
I can't picture this so vividly in my mind. Amazing that you turned a ping pong game into a business
Exactly.
Years later. And now
exactly.
the two of you, have you in your previous companies, were you kind of in similar roles? So John, sales, Mark, tech, kind of more the analytical side.
Yeah, it's funny we did that. I mean, my background is mainly in consulting and technology and product development, and that's kind of where I feel most comfortable. And John is in advertising. I mean, John's been in advertising all his life, and then in sales. And John's got that natural gift of just a disarming personality that can meet just about anybody. And I'm a little bit more of the kind of the inside the house, inside the bunker, uh, playing with the tech type stuff
Yeah.
is kind of my role. But yeah, that's kind of been our roles over the last 20 or so years. And when Prodigy was birthed, clients were asking us for data more, and that's really what birthed Prodigy. We weren't really thinking about Prodigy at that moment. We were really kind of responding to client needs for, hey, we need aggregated reports. We need them quick. We need them at our fingertips. And it wasn't just a report, at a top level. It's very granular level detail. So the problem we were solving required some thought, required some how are we going to aggregate data that originates in email that's very granular level into something now that we have inside of Prodigy. So it was really in response to client need that birthed Prodigy.
Yeah, that's amazing that you were able to, number one, listen. I think that's an important skill that all businesses should learn, like listen to what the clients want before just pushing solutions at them, right? And I see that still in your business today, which I think, definitely differentiates Prodigy from the pack, is that kind of human-led approach to the tech also.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So I guess, back then in 2022, like that's a big shift to go from, very people-focused consulting to very tech-focused. Were clients reaping the rewards overnight? And if so, what were those kind of immediate wins that you would say you had with clients?
Yeah, I would say, I'll start, Mark, just to say that what was really cool about Prodigy was when we were creating it, we actually used two incumbent clients of ours to help develop it before it became a standalone product, for anybody. So MasterCard and Verizon were two of our longstanding clients who really worked with us on the whole concept of coming up with a tech solution to solve what we had been doing manually. And so having their guidance, getting their kind of marketer side view of what they wanted, as an example, one of the things that's really unique about Prodigy is that there's no data entry for agencies, and for stakeholders. That was really driven by the marketers saying, hey guys, we love the idea, but if this is going to be a heavy lift for our agencies, that's going to be tough because we've got a lot of projects, on their plate.
Yeah.
So it can't be this big change management initiative.
Sure.
So those are some of the things that we took to the whiteboard and said, okay, this isn't going to be a standalone SaaS where you're going to ask agencies to stop doing, the normal process over email and then start doing something different, learning a new system.
Right.
And so we developed our upload portal where agencies can just drag and drop their information into us. And then we let the AI do essentially the data entry. And so just kind of, to your point of just sort of listening and understanding what the client's, needs were really helped us actually define the product. And we had a good, Mark, I don't know, over a year worth of incubating essentially Prodigy, trusted clients who really understood, kind of the big business need. And only once it was working for those guys and they started to see the benefits of it, did Mark and I kind of say, you know what, gosh, this is a product in and of itself. This is something that every marketer could use. You don't necessarily have to be a consulting client of Post Ads Group. This is its own thing, and we got pretty quick validation of that too when we kind of took it out on the road.
I was gonna mention with John about that pivot though, from going from like a consulting company. Where we had staff that were really geared towards, we were staffing based on, labor and based on subject matter expertise and based on advertising background, pivoting from that to more of a almost like a software company. We're a data management platform that provides software to automate things. And so that's a whole different skill set. It's a whole different way you run a company. And so, making quick decisions on that was required. I mean, we had to figure out how to staff those kind of needs. So, development resources and folks who know how to code and folks who know how to generate reports. So we were really having to react to a couple of things, not only the market needs, what our clients were asking us to do, but also building a business underneath that.
Right. True. And I love what you said earlier, John, about the taking away the manual part of it, because like we're all bogged down with so many manual processes, less and less so thanks to AI, but like all of your data, none of the data entry tagline really summarizes in my mind the value, like the time saved, and like really time is money. So the money that this is able to save, marketers, and just enabling them to be more productive. John, so now that, Prodigy has been alive, we'll say, in its current form, well, not even its current form, it's continuing to evolve, but as it is today, October 2025, give us the Prodigy elevator pitch. If you had, 60 seconds to tell us who Prodigy is, what we do it for, why customers care, we want to hear it.
Okay.
60 seconds, John. 60
no pressure.
seconds.
No pressure.
Ready, go.
Essentially what Prodigy, the problem we solve is data capture, and that's something that every marketer is really struggling with right now. There's a lot of data. It exists in a lot of forms, it's in disparate places. And so it's very difficult to aggregate and capture data. And that's kind of what Prodigy's first thing is we make it real easy to get the data in. Once we get the data in, then it's really up to the customer to say, here's how I want it sliced and diced, and here's what here's the things I'm looking to measure. And then, from there, taking action, because if you're just gathering data and you're not doing anything with it, there's not a lot of value there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are, I think, with our, with the clients, and actually with the industry. I think the industry has really responded to the fact that, all right, you guys are the guys that figured out how to get the data in. Now everyone's starting to get a little bit more sophisticated with, okay, what story is the data telling me, and how do I act on it? And they're querying their data in different ways. Like when we first started Prodigy, we'd bring data in, and then we created these dashboards, charts and graphs, tableaus. And that was really useful. It takes a lot of time to do that manually. And that was kind of, the early days of data. But now it's, they want to query their data with chat capability. They want to have agents do certain work for them.
Right.
And so all those new things, it's that's what's been fun about the product. Every year there's something new, but that whole kind of foundational thing is still a problem. The whole foundation of gathering data from the outside and bringing it in so it can be managed.
And I think normalized, you guys use that word a lot too. It's like when you have data in, email form and spreadsheet form and PowerPoint, maybe even, like, how do you make it all look the same so you can interpret it and action on it? So that to me is huge.
Yeah, we had a meeting with a client earlier this week, actually. And, different groups have different ways of calling things, some call them, omni shoots. Which kind of would mean, you're shooting a whole bunch of stuff all at once, TV, digital, social, photography. Another entity would call that an eco shoot, full ecosystem. And so, to your point of normalizing data and categorizing data, that's part of, we spend a lot of our time now talking about data cleaning.
Yeah.
And essentially, we're bringing data in. There's a fair amount of cleaning now that has to go through, our process as well, probably more than ever, Mark, because they're asking us to gather more data.
With the advent of like generative AI, you really have to have a clean data set, and you have to know how to clean it. You have to know how to transform that data. So it's one thing to get data in, using like OCR tools or transforming unstructured data, structuring it, but then it's also normalizing it, to your word, Lauren, creating value out of that data where it's called something that people can understand. And categorizing that function, AI is becoming very good at. I mean, one of our early applications of artificial intelligence was just doing rapid categorizations of data.
Wow.
Mhm.
So being able to tell, like what John was just saying, be able to take what someone might call an omni shoot and say, well, maybe it's a location shoot, or maybe it's a studio shoot, or
Right.
what do we want to call it that's going to provide the most value? And whether you're speaking English or Japanese or
Yeah.
Spanish, those
Mhm.
things are important too, because the originators of this content also want to be able to interface in their own natural language and their own natural currency. So that's what we think AI is starting to bring to the table more as a personalized approach to how I see the data,
Mhm.
being able to take action against that data, whether it's budgets or comparisons of granular documents, or getting analytics on historical for benchmarking, whatever those applications are. That's where we feel like Plus can really take us into the future of rapidly doing that as our assistant.
Right. And you sort of pivoted nicely into my next question was going to be around AI. So when did you uh, really start to embrace AI, and bring it in kind of as a major component, or we'll say backbone of your solution?
Yeah, it was almost like a whiteboard 101 for us, because we knew we had to, when we launched Prodigy in 2020, we knew we were bringing in quite a bit of granular data. So um, we designed a process which we now have trademarked. It's called software as a managed service. It enables us to take unstructured data, structure it, and then categorize it all in one process. And so we really needed that because, for instance, I think we have like 3,500 data elements inside of Prodigy Lore, which is quite a bit of granular uh, taxonomy that you have to keep track of. And so you really needed AI out of the gate to help do the categorization process. Once you OCR this information, you have to categorize it and standardize it. So that was really kind of, for us, it was like foundational to Prodigy, was using the early stages of artificial intelligence for categorization.
Yeah, that's great. And you have fully embraced it now, which brings me to my next point that I wanted to make, is to talk a little bit more about Plus. So we launched Plus very recently, and now we've added Max to the family, which is our actual chatbot tool, which basically puts a friendly conversational face to the data insights that Prodigy provides to clients in seconds. Personally, I'm very excited about this because it shows how Prodigy really is investing in being on kind of the leading edge of AI, and we're not slowing down. But Mark, for you and Don as well, why were you so excited about Plus specifically, and what's kind of your outlook for the future on Plus and Max?
You want to go first, Sean?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, again, it's sort of, meeting client needs. I think the clients really want to dive into their data more deeply. And you can only do that so much with data visualizations. Like anything else, like people are going on things like ChatGPT to ask questions, or Google search, they're using AI mode. And same thing with the databases that we're building for our clients. We're bringing all this data in for them. It's their data. It's their historical data. And, sometimes there's things that you want to ask of that data and dig deeper into it, that you can't really get out of a chart and graph. So, having that AI chat capability, Max, I think is going to be super exciting for our clients. I think, they're getting very excited to try to test that technology. We also are trying to be very forthright with our clients too, in the sense that just because you're using an AI chatbot doesn't mean it's going to be instantly, all knowing. There's a lot of talk about training your data and that sort of thing. And so all of us are getting really kind of early days of getting to understand, what is this assistant capable of? And so that's kind of where we are, I think, at this given moment with our clients is, they've got a very smart intern, essentially, is maybe one way to describe it.
Budget strategist, John.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. And so I think it's an exciting tool for our clients to use, because the whole world is using AI for different things. What's interesting too is that, obviously when you're working with large marketers, they have internal groups that are building internal AI tools for their own entities.
Yes.
What's cool about Prodigy Plus and Max is that it's not a public, it's not going over the public domain. It's not a chat GPT, which is very important to our clients because we've got a lot of financial data, that in kind of this, data warehouse that we're building for them. That's very, bespoke to them.
Right.
So when they're querying their data, it's inside of a walled garden, which is really important. People don't want to put their financial information out into the public, entity. So what we're finding is that, and we actually got a very nice compliment from a client recently where they said they put in a prompt using Plus, and then they put in a prompt using Copilot. And the results they got from Plus were far more, relevant to them than what they had done using, Copilot. Yeah. And I think that's the kind of thing that's really exciting for us is that we know that we've got a tool that's going to work better than other tools that are out there just by virtue of, the database that we've built for them.
Exactly. And it's not a one size fits all tool. It doesn't do everything for everyone, right? It's really a spend management expert is what it is.
That's right.
And, I really love like the questions that you can ask it, like where in my budget is, there room to optimize, right? Like what's underperforming, what's performing well, like, to be able to ask like those questions and get meaningful answers is huge.
Yeah, I think so too. And, we have clients that are saying it's important for them to freeform questions against the data that they have. And then we have other clients that's taken us on the journey of they want Max to become more of an agentic look and feel. For instance, the difference between a chat bot and a chat agent is workflow. And so one thing that I ask myself every morning when I get up is how can I automate more than what I'm doing today? And I think a lot of people ask that same question. Geez, I'd love to automate a lot of things. We do that with email today. We automate, where we put email in certain inboxes and we try to get organized. And so we have more time. That's the same thing with chat agents. And that's the evolution we're going on is working to where it's easier for Max to take over certain things that you might want to automate. Historical, looking back on history and saying, how would I benchmark certain projects that I've done historically, seasonality? How would I quickly compare very complex documents without a lot of clicks? How can I have Max route review and approval? Just kind of taking over very simple tasks. And I think that's where in the next 12 months, you'll see Max evolve into less of a chat bot, but more of an assistant. That's where he's going to go.
Wow.
And Mark, the other thing that you're adding right now to Max is, there's the chat bar where you can type in your questions, and that's, you consider that free form. And as Mark said, some of our clients have said, gosh, I have, a lot of users out in the field. And if there's a task like creating a budget or comparing, documents, there might be a set phrase that delivers the best results out there, as opposed to everybody free-forming, and getting, taking longer to get similar results. So kind of codifying some of those things and making those available in the chat bar where you can go, instead of just typing out a question, it'll already be kind of there for you and can kind of lead you through the process. That's, to me, that kind of crystallized what Mark was saying, about even how, we just launched Max, I think in July.
Yeah.
Already it's going through another iteration of, just taking on free form questions and or now being able to kind of have these, I don't know what you call them, widget.
Automated workflows or widgets.
Workflow.
Yeah.
So so I think that's again some of the things that our clients are helping us take the product in a certain direction that way.
That's amazing. And John, who is your ideal customer for Max, and why would you say that's the case?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We do say, from the outset that basically this is an issue. The issue of data capture and understanding your marketing spend is sort of ubiquitous across the industry. It's applicable to every client. But I would say that, typically the clients that probably get the most out of, Prodigy and Max are clients that, are large. They've got a large number of brands, maybe a large number of agencies. They're doing business all over the world. And there's a lot of content that needs to be adapted. And, you're tracking spend in all these different places. A lot of our clients, from the consulting side kind of fit that bill. And then some of the newer clients we've added, since we've been in business with Prodigy, kind of fit that mode as well. So that's, I think, that's kind of the client that we seek and that seeks us out. And it was actually, Mark said, our start was in Los Angeles. And that the reason we were in Los Angeles all the time at Post Ads Group is that we had a large book of business with a lot of the movie studios, pre-COVID. And it was exciting. It was a great, business to be in. We would visit all the studio lots. We'd kind of go to our meetings in golf carts, and, it was kind of fun, the new releases that were coming out and all that. And then, as you guys know, during COVID, that whole business completely shifted. Because the theatrical marketing, advertising for things that were going to be in the studio or in the theaters kind of just went away for a while.
Right.
And so there was a big retooling. There was a lot of acquisition, among studios, Disney and Fox and all kinds of different entities. And so, now, coming out, 2025, it's like the streaming revolution, right? There's so many different streamers of content.
Right.
Thankfully things are back in theaters as well, but that whole business has shifted. And so, I think that's the other market that we're excited to start, making some inroads with are those, the streaming companies, the content creators for entertainment. We know that business very well, and, they would be perfect for Prodigy.
Right. I mean, they're creating seemingly endless types of content, right? From actually producing the films to creating all the advertising and everything in between. I mean, I can't even imagine how difficult that is to wrangle. So very interesting use case for Prodigy for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny, like their marketing budgets are very interesting too, right, Mark? So they'll start with an initial budget, but then it depends how well that piece of content's or that release or that series is doing. If it's not doing great, they'll hold back and they'll deploy money elsewhere. If it's really going gangbusters, they're going to push it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there's that part of it.
Make those decisions like this, right? Versus having to, probably somebody working overnight trying to pull the data from a spreadsheet.
Right.
Yeah.
They've got about a 2-week window to do their marketing and advertising campaigns, and each title is a brand.
Right.
So if you think about it from that aspect, it's a very narrow time that they have to try to make money on a certain title that they're releasing. And so that's the challenge, is creating a marketing engine behind that where you're constantly introducing new brands, making money back, going on to the next brand.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, Mark, is that, and this is something that we haven't mentioned yet across all of our clients, is they kind of start with us on content production.
Mm-hmm.
Your TV, your digital, your social videos, your print, your digital, those sort of things. But there's a whole world of advertising and marketing spend out there. One of the big categories we've gotten into is events and experiential.
Yes.
Sponsoring, big events like F1 and, Wimbledon and all these huge events where you're actually having an activation, an on-site activation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's fabrications and there's builds and there's, premiums and there's food and beverage events and all that sort of stuff. And so, a lot of our clients have said, gosh, you guys have been great for bringing in our production info. What about events info or sponsorship info or packaging info.
Sure.
We're agnostic in terms of, what comes into the system. Our system can read any document type, any invoice, any estimate.
Yeah.
So that's the other cool thing, is that we're kind of expanding within our clients because it's so easy. We've made it easy to bring in data. So we're kind of a nice funnel to bring data in. And so, I would say that's the other thing about really all advertisers, but the theatrical piece as well. They'll do trailer information that and content, but then they're doing behind the scenes. They're doing red carpet. They're in all these different markets doing activations as well. So there's like a whole slew of what we call advertising and marketing A&M spending that goes just beyond content production.
Yeah, that's, really compelling stuff, John. So if a brand marketer wants to see Max for themselves, how can they do that?
They can give us a call or give us an email. We really love, Mark and I are kind of old school. We love being in person with people.
Yeah.
So, we're going to spend a lot of time in the next weeks and months and year ahead doing roadshows in different, local markets.
Awesome.
Where we're going to go, on site to clients, but we may even host events and invite a community of clients to come in and see a demo and kind of get peer groups together and, really have people kind of kick the tires on things and really learn what Prodigy can do for them. And we're excited to do that next year.
Yeah, that's super powerful. Great, guys. Well, I always learn something new about Prodigy when we have these conversations. So, thank you for giving myself and, the audience a glimpse behind the curtain here. You've accomplished really so much and so much yet to come in this new age of AI plus human intelligence, as we say. Any final words you guys want to share about, thoughts on enterprise AI or Prodigy? Any exciting lead behinds for the audience?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Last word from the inventor.
I think we're going to see over the next 12 months, as we kind of look just in our little neck of the woods, a major shift to how agentic AI is going to change marketing organizations. So we're already seeing a little bit of it.
Sure.
And of course, there's folks out in the industry that pump the brakes a little bit and say it's not ready for prime time. And, of course, we get all of that. But at the same time, over the next 12 months, I think we're going to see agentic AI be a major seat at the table inside of marketing organizations, whether that's for budgeting, pre-production, whether that's for generating commercials. We just witnessed a presentation from the General Motors CMO of how they're creating ads soup to nuts using generative AI. So I think over the next 12 months, we'll see agentic AI, meaning an agent, become part of the organization, marketing and advertising organization in a bigger way. And so I think for companies that are leading the charge like Prodigy is, we're very excited about the future. We're very excited about embracing the technology. We're very excited about what agentic AI can bring to the table. So we want to show everybody what it can do. And so we're pumped about the future.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you both so much for all of your insights and your thoughts today. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren.